Today is Truth and Reconciliation Day in Canada, so I wear an orange shirt to honor those that never made it home from residential schools and the survivors. Thank you. My talk is entitled From Crap Magnet to Miracle Magnet. I was a crap magnet for most of my life. Today, I live as a miracle magnet. I believe that when we do our inner work as heart centered humans, people that have gone through challenging times because we are so kind, we might have given away our power. We might have been people pleasers. We might have been imposters, being who we need to be in order to please others. I believe that when we do our inner work to get aligned, authentic, fully self expressed, to be everything that we were born to be in this lifetime, I believe that a world full of us could be heaven on earth. And that is the world that I want to help to co create. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. And it started when I was 11 years old, and I saw a bunch of women singing and dancing on stage, beautiful women. I was a chubby little Italian girl sitting in the audience. I wasn't supposed to be at this presentation, this cabaret, because I was a child, but it was destiny that I be there. Because after the show, my father came to get me. He worked downstairs, so I was going up. I was watching this show upstairs. He came to get me afterwards and he saw the stars in my eyes and he said, "Would you like to meet those women backstage?" And I felt like I was meeting the queens of the world. So my father brought me backstage. And remember what I look like, right? I described myself. And my father said, "Ladies, this is my daughter, Elvira." And the ladies looked at me, the ones that were on stage, the goddesses that were on stage, they looked at me and they said, "Joe, this is your daughter. She's so beautiful." And I thought, I'm beautiful? I'm a fat little Italian kid. You're beautiful for telling me I'm beautiful. And I fell in love with those women. I knew that I wanted to be one of them when I grew up. So I felt seen for the first time in my life. So when I walked away with my daddy who could sing like Pavarotti, he was better than Pavarotti. I said to him, "Daddy, I want to be one of them when I grow up." Well, my father looked at me and said, "Elvira, you can't be one of those women because those women are sluts." So that shut me down. I wasn't allowed to be me anymore. So I asked little 11-year-old me, "Okay, Elvira, you're not allowed to be who you want to be. Okay, daddy, who do you need me to be so you will love me?" And I learned really fast. He needed me to be a good little Italian Catholic girl, get good grades, get a good career, get a good husband, and give him some grandchildren. Well, guess what? I checked off all of those boxes. And at my rock bottom, I was ready to die. I was so unhappy. I struggled with mental health, physical health. I was bullied. I was in a dark, dark place because I was not living in alignment. I was not living authentically. I was not living fully self expressed. So, as a child, I realized he just needed me to get a good career. So, what did I do? I became a lab technologist. I worked in cancer research for 7 years. I wanted to slip my wrists after 7 years of that. It's not who I was. I got bullied. I was treated badly. I went to some dark places as a people pleaser, as an imposter, because I am a heart centered person. I give away my power very easily. So I got plucked out of that career to do big pharma for 20 years. So that was a little bit better because I got to not be in a lab being bullied, but I got to be out and calling on doctors. And I was an award winning rep. It was really, quite a fancy lifestyle for a while, but it's not who I was. Who I was an artist. I was a healer. I was a coach. This is who I am today, but I wasn't allowed to be that back then because I was too busy pleasing my father and looking good to the world. My ego ran the show. So when I had 20 years of big pharma, well, let's say the first 18 were sort of okay, but the last two were a total breakdown. I ended up having struggles like you would not believe. What started it all was I saw my friend leave the industry to become a life coach. And I saw her looking so beautiful and so happy and so grounded. And she used to be just like me, a drug rep. We used to work together. We used to job share actually. And when I saw her, she left the industry to become a life coach. I hadn't seen her for a year because I ended up going to another company. And when I was at her house and I saw her so grounded and happy and connected, I said, "What have you done?" And she said, "Well, in the past year, I left Big Pharma and I became a life coach." Right away, I saw what was possible for me. I put it out in the universe. I said, "I don't know what she did, but one day I'm doing it too." And what I did that night, ladies and gentlemen, is I put it out into the universe that this was my life too. I punched a hole in the universe. And as my dear coach, A.G. Morishita says, when you punch a hole in the universe and you decide you want something, you are something, the universe comes and fills that hole with the how. How will it get done? So I ended up having a very, very powerful prediction that night from a psychic who told me that I was a healer on a global level, that I was to be a Mother Teresa like person. And I was like, "You're crazy." And I walked away. Well, then the next week I go into work and my boss has been mysteriously let go. He is the one that hired me at the highest salary, the biggest benefits, the biggest bonus, the biggest car. My ego was so big. I don't know how I walked through doors. He was mysteriously gone. Had I been a smart lady, I would have said, "Well, he's gone. My life is never going to be the same. I'm going to leave this company too. I'm going to ask for a package and become a life coach like my friend did." Instead, no, my ego kicked in and I said, "Maybe it's a sign I'm meant to be the manager now." So I competed for his job with a dear male colleague. We used to be such good friends, but now there was a misunderstanding. We competed for his job. And instead of fixing the misunderstanding, he just ruined my reputation in the company. No, people are no longer talking to me in the company. I went from being the highest paid rep to a piece of garbage. I was treated so badly because I was a people pleaser, because I needed outer validation like I needed oxygen back then. I went into a dark place. I struggled with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, bipolar. My marriage was horrible. And at my very lowest, as I shared, I had suicidal ideation. I didn't want to live anymore because it got so ugly at work. I lived like that for 2 years. I had a bully here at work treating me badly. And then in another part of my life, I used to be an Argos cheerleader. I used to cheer for our city's football team back in the 80s. And within this group, there was a girl who, let's just call her the mean girl. She's the one that decides who everybody can like and everybody can't like. She was in control. And I used to be part of her inner circle. I used to go to her parties. And, back then when I was, a happy go lucky, looking shiny on the outside, feeling like an imposter on the inside, never showing it. I used to go to her parties and we would laugh, we would have a good time. But now, because I'm being bullied at work, I have an invisible kick me sign on my back. And she read it because she is a bully. And this is what bullies do. They read the energy of people. And so I was vibrating low and now she is starting to bully me too. She's taking my so-called friends over to her house. They're having the parties I'm not invited to anymore and they're talking garbage behind my back. Well, now I've lost friends at work. I've lost friends socially. I've gone to a dark place mentally. I lived like that for 2 years. I had done a lot of inner work, but at that point, nothing worked. So I had been Catholic and seeing God out there, and I'm a lowly sinner and having pity for me. That helped me sometimes as a victim. I was in a victim mindset. That helped me sometimes, but that didn't work anymore. I had done therapy when I was a new mommy. My son's 29 today. He's doing very well. But when he was a toddler, and he was starting to act up, I started acting up. And so I went to therapy for 2 years to get over my mommy issues, and it worked. But it took a long time and a lot of money to go to therapy. So at this point, what I learned in therapy didn't work. I was still in a dark place. And I also had done this thing called Landmark Education, which was a great program. It helped me till it didn't. I had done the work of Tony Robbins, and he helped me when I went from the lab into big pharma to feel better. But when I hit rock bottom, those teachings didn't work anymore. So here I am, and I am struggling in such a dark place. I'm barely getting out of bed to feed my child and getting him off to school. God knows how I survived back then, but somehow I was meant to. And oh, and the other thing I wasn't going to do for my mental health was I wasn't going to take drugs. No disrespect to anybody who takes drugs for their mental health. It wasn't going to be an option for me. You see, I was a drug rep and I knew what they did to our bodies. I didn't want to put my body through that. And also, my father, because he too lived out of alignment, he could sing better than Pavarotti, never did anything with his voice. He had a nervous breakdown when he was bullied at work in his 50s. So look at that. The sins of the father visited onto the child. I was bullied too, and I went to a dark place. But my father didn't have the options that I had, which I'll tell you about in a second. But he had a nervous breakdown and had to go on a very strong drug called lorazepam. The other name for it is Ativan. He couldn't sleep without these meds. And sadly, my father, after taking these meds for many years, living out of alignment for all that time, his body kept score because our bodies do keep score. He lived out of alignment. He wasn't authentic. He wasn't fully self-expressed. He was just the good guy, the people pleaser. He did everything to please his family, to please his parents. This is what my father did. And he sadly died 12 years ago with his real music still in him. He died with two types of cancer, mental health struggles, and a marriage in shambles. He showed me what not to do. Because when I hit rock bottom and I asked my higher power for a way out of my darkness, that wasn't drugs, that wasn't therapy, that wasn't landmark, that wasn't religion, that wasn't Tony Robbins. I needed something else that was fast, that was going to be fast and natural. I wasn't going to go the route of Western medicine. I wanted it to be holistic. And guess what? At rock bottom, when I surrendered all, as Oprah says, I was divinely gifted and I received the Love Your Vibe Miracle Mindset. It took me out of a dark place quickly, naturally. As soon as I started applying the teachings and tools that were divinely gifted to me, I left depression, anxiety, panic attacks behind. My marriage went from hell on wheels to heaven on earth. And and also one of the best things that came out of it was I was able to become a professional jazz artist at 51. When I applied the teachings and tools to my life, I left the industry. I got an amazing package out. I ended up becoming a coach and I applied the teachings and tools to my life. I got aligned, authentic, fully self expressed. And like I said, I became a now award winning jazz artist at the age of 51. And I've even performed for people like Oprah Winfrey's man, Stedman Graham. If you Google Stedman Graham and Elvira Hopper, you'll see me singing to him. And he thinks I'm fabulous. I think he's fabulous. So, why I'm sharing all this with you is that I was divinely gifted this system. If you are a heart centered human that has gone to some dark places, that doesn't want to take drugs for your mental health struggles, that wants to feel better, that wants to know that you were brought here for a purpose and you want to connect with what that purpose is. I have an incredible team that is now facilitating this work. And they are people that came together, the two leaders in this work came together when COVID hit and they said, Alvira, your system saved our lives too. And we want to share it with the world. So they made it even better and they created a beautiful 6-month program for them to share it with the world. I just do my one-on-one work, but they have trained a group of leaders that do this beautiful inner work that lead you through 6 months of adapting, of taking on, of embodying these teachings and tools so that you too can go from being a crap magnet, attracting what you don't want in life, into being a miracle magnet, attracting what you do want in life. Because I believe that when enough of us have done this inner work, it will be heaven on earth. So please check out the links that are posted to learn more about this. You can actually set up a 15-minute chat with me to learn more. If you would like to also take this system on and facilitate it, we're growing our team of facilitators. There's an amazing group. that's doing that right now. And we're going global with all of their modalities too on my platform. So I just want to wrap up to say, if you are a heart-centered human who's had gone through some dark times and would like to try this modality, please do. And if you're also a healer or a coach or a mentor of some sort who wants to use my platform to help others, you can plug and play and make a beautiful extra income on my platform. But more importantly, you get to serve the world with your story, message, and magic that people might need, like they need oxygen. So I want to thank you. I want to reach out to you if you want to reach out to me and connect. Thank you so much to GST Live, the Global Speakers Talk, for inviting me today. Namaste.